And we are back ready to look into this first game, Bifrost versus NYYRIKKI. Let's level down. NYYRIKKI are not the favorite team at this point. Obviously, there's a lot of belief on the other team, Bifrost, after X7 as well. But what can NYYRIKKI do to actually beat one of the giants?
I feel like both teams have the same exact strengths for themselves. I feel like the top side of the map for Bifrost has been absolutely stellar, and we have seen Shikari literally do absolute wonders for Bifrost. But if you look on the other side for NYYRIKKI, Petoshka has done the same. Petoshka has been a name that we've talked about over and over again when it comes to carrying the team. But then you look towards the bot side of the map, and then we had Bifrost dismantle X7's bot lane yesterday, but NYYRIKKI's bot lane is also what is a strong point.
My counterpoint to that would be that Petoshka has looked great on champions that actually kind of fit the meta and that he's comfortable on. The Gangplank was awesome. The Gangplank was great. The Cho'Gath was unimpactful. It lost the early laning phase. Yes, it kind of can stabilize after that point, but it didn't matter at that point because the game was kind of already over. I think that obviously the bot lanes are both a place that we've constantly focused on, and yes, we're going to keep talking about Aztor because he's really, really damn good. I think where kind of like the glaring hole is at that point is actually where can the difference maker be? Maybe it can be someone like Fury stepping up again, because we know this guy has pedigree. We know he's maybe one of the best mid laners in the league, but he's not had a great split so far, not comparative to his expectations.
I watched his interview yesterday. He's like, well, you know what, I would like to play more carry champions, you know, the Akalis, the stuff. I'm like, why don't you? Sylas is perfectly fine right now in the meta. Akali is more than perfectly fine right now in the meta. Like, give the man a carry. Like, show us what Fury can do when it's up to him to carry the team. Because even though he also struggled yesterday because he was like, you know what, I haven't been, you know, very happy with my performance, and like these scaling picks, yes, they're all right, but they're not my kind of style. I feel like Bifrost have the tools to sort of swap who their carries are around, with dual roaming towards the mid lane as well, and they have a very capable jungler. I think a lot of things can be swapped around to actually allow some spotlight on Fury so he can feel a lot more comfortable with the things he's playing as well.
Now we're going to focus on the early game, because Bifrost obviously will be looking out for blood. So NYYRIKKI have to play safe, or do they have to face that aggressiveness on the early game?
So NYYRIKKI's early game has been a little suspect. So we have to see again if Bifrost, because that's the area that they really cleaned up against X7 actually. They cleaned up their early game again. If they're performing on that level once more, yeah, NYYRIKKI need to have done a lot of work in their days off, and they're going to have to hit them hard and hit them early.
Where's the Riven ban for Petoshka? They need to remove that away, as every single team does it. Tryndamere is going to be removed as well. Are we looking into that bot lane with the Senna, the Tom Kench? Will Zeta pop up again and actually be successful on the mid lane? I don't know.
I'm just wondering here, if Akali goes through for the set of Bifrost, she carries more than capable of
I've been picked now as... Oh, no, come on.
Fury is a fantastic Akali player, as we all know as well. So I was wondering here, of course, with the TF ban as well. See, I'm kind of sad with the TF ban because it allows also Fury to grab the Sylas and create the counter plays. But if they feel like they don't want to be matching this because they maybe want to play a carry towards the bot side of the map and Twisted Fate really disrupts, it also says to me that they don't want to first pick it. So maybe I'm looking towards an Akali.
Yeah, but this is, and speaking of kind of like picking up like the TF and the Akali, you know, actually we can kind of zoom out a little bit again and kind of talk about, okay, so we're not seeing any jungle bans here. There's been no Lee Sin or Xin Zhao ban just yet. We'll see if they end up hitting the bans at the end of it. But what we've seen is a lot more blind picks in the mid lane compared to the jungle. We're not seeing first pick Xin Zhao quite as much, because actually Trundle does pretty well against that. Actually some other picks do as well. The Corki is something which is really easy to blind pick, particularly at this level, because people aren't punishing it. But mid lane is still this kind of place where he's thinking, actually you can kind of get away with a lot of these blind picks.
I think the Victor is what also forces the Corki ban right here, because they're the two primarily champions that just want to farm into the late game, right? But now here the question is, you have Diana open, you have Xin Zhao open, and you have Akali open. Do you want to first pick the Akali here? Because again, Fury is an absolutely stellar Akali, or are you going to choose to...
Is this going to be like MC's Rumble again?
So Seaboy is like a fantastic Lee Sin player, so I don't blame him for wanting to first pick something like a playmaker. Now my question here is, LeBlanc is open. So by picking the Lee Sin from the set of Bifrost, that means that NYYRIKKI cannot pick LeBlanc, because Lee Sin sort of counters LeBlanc and can follow her around.
They do really well together too.
Gives the chance to Fury to pick it for himself.
So giving Jinx over to Azzator is very dangerous. He is a very good player. But yeah, I mean, I know I was kind of talking about, oh, you know, jungle, there are answers to it. The question is, you know, so Desidero did play the Trundle. Trundle does tend to do pretty well into Lee Sin and Jin Zhao. You can duel with them early. That's definitely something you can do, and you can mitigate some of their early game impact, even though C-Boy is a fantastic playmaker. Viego, we haven't seen a lot of, but the thing about Viego is that if you know that the enemy is coming into you, you are very, very happy. If you have the longest range, highest damage AD carry in Jinx, you just play the Viego and say, sure, dive onto the Jinx. We have another win condition now in double resets.
And I also think that the Lee Sin sort of gives away that the Bifrost are probably going to want another component on their draft to dive in together with the Lee Sin. I would love to see a Senna slash lay down the bot lane, whether it's Set, whether it's Tahm Kench. I wouldn't mind seeing any of the two because honestly, it works really well with Lee Sin. It works really well if you want to go a bunch of assassins, melees. And talking about melees, that is the bread and butter for Shikari up in the top lane. He's played when he's absolutely stomped with the champion. I think he's two wins out of 2 games that he's played, and he's looked fantastic on it.
And he's effectively solo carried a couple of games on that Gwen. He's stood in the front line, done an insane amount of damage.
LeBlanc wasn't picked here.
Yes, but I think that... So actually, the couple of times when we have seen the Gwen very high priority and picked early, actually the Jax has been a better 1v1 into that champion. It used to be Camille before Camille's W got nerfed. Now Jax is the one champion that you really want to pick that actually does well for your team comp. Action, you can kind of win the 1v1, but then you're playing an AD, like ranged top player that falls after about 5 minutes or so. So the Jax is kind of like the more meta answer in the terms of the team comp. I don't mind Tosca picking this up because it's comfort for him too.
And you need to get the hyper carry on Petosca. You need that top lane to be a battle of the ages because you know the jungler will try to prioritize the top and get Shikari ahead.
So we're looking here at mid laners for the side of NYYRIKKI. We're looking at Aero. He's played the Victor before. We're looking possibly for a Syndra. We're looking for something like an Orianna, something that will protect the back line, but will also be able to create opportunities in the front line as well. I think you need a really good pairing together with the Viego. It could be the LeBlanc. It's not that Lee Sin being picked on one side is a no way for the other side to pick the LeBlanc, but I was thinking a Viego slash a Syndra versus a LeBlanc Lee Sin could potentially be a really good duo to go against them.
Now, you see, I love myself some programming, and one of the things that you do in programming is stuff that you've used before, you keep using again. We talked about Duel in the pregame, and let's just keep using that. It's easy, it's put there. He's just had 3 champions banned away from him, and a lot still being banned on the side of Bifrost. You can see they're taking a while
not banned.
On that second one. But, I mean, Senna has choice lane pairings, and Dual is not going to get any of the cream of the crop with that. The set can help. I don't think it's going to be the best thing ever as a support, because even if you are diving into that comp as the set, you're still going to be in a lot of danger to the Viego, to the Jax stuns, to the Jinx just auto-firing on.
What do you bring then? Because Rakan appears? Okay, so Set versus Rakan as well. Rakan needs to go to you, and Set obviously will be happy with that.
So the thing here is that I feel like NYYRIKKI have a really good all-around composition where if they want to peel backwards, they can. If they want to figure out and engage for themselves, they still can. But the thing is, the second the Rakan dives in, it gives Set a very easy segue towards the backline of NYYRIKKI. If it honestly gets locked in here, I would be really happy to see that because I think Set
it's the best of a bad situation, it feels like.
I think for me, it's the best of a bad situation because I really love Set, so I am very, very biased. And especially when you have 3 melees that are going to play into the hands of Set when Set dives in. I think it's really good to pair up with a Lee Sin that's going to be diving in the backline, a Gwen that's going to be diving in the backline, and then you have the Senna complementing all 3 of your melees. Now the question is here, do you want to go with the Syndra or do you want to go with the LeBlanc? The answer is Syndra.
You are currently outranged, though, and the Jinx is going to be doing more damage than the Senna in a lot of ways. Now, this goal for Bifrost is just entirely, you kill the Jinx before they get online, because if the Jinx gets into the fight, much like we saw Bifrost do to X7, actually, if you start losing out in that DPS check, where all champions start hitting training dummies in these 5v5s, then I think NYYRIKKI win this. Having an Orianna Shockwave to buy an extra second or 2, that's really important. We saw Singularity almost win their first game of the split with that, actually, playing around a longer range backline. I think that NYYRIKKI have come out with a bit of a draft win if it comes down to front-to-back fights. Yep. But we might come down to play a different Bifrost because they are so damn good.
I also do like it because Bifrost have a bunch of melees. I have 3 melees that want
into
to
Orianna Shockwave.
Exactly. into the Orianna's ball, where we've seen what happened when they kept walking into Muta's ball and he was getting triple and quadruple shockwaves. Now the problem is that the Set has a very easy access to the backline. Lee Sin can also find pretty good flanks. We saw it from Harrow yesterday, and C-Boy played a fantastic game, even on the Poppy, finding the flanks. So my question is, is Bifrost going to be able to outplay on the champions that they have chosen? Because mechanically, if you can play so well on these champions, you can find the flanks, you can find the backline access, and is NYYRIKKI going to be composed enough to keep their carry safe?
It's going to be action-packed game. It's going to be a good one. And this is the way to start the week 4, day 2. And obviously, we have to send it away to the casters for the first game. It is Goldberg. It is initialized. It's going to be hyped.
What a surprise! It is actually us. I didn't realize. I thought we were just standing here. I know.
I mean, if you missed the pre-game, then you would know it was us, so that's true.
What are you going to do? Anyway, we have got a bit of an interesting matchup ahead of us. Bifrost off the back of an incredible win over X7 on Monday. Tied for first, took down the team we all expected potentially to go undefeated, all of that.
It's an interesting matchup between these two because it's two teams that's coming off, as you're mentioning yourself, pretty good momentum. Bifrost against X7 was arguably an upset as well from the side of Bifrost. With NYYRIKKI yesterday as well. I keep saying yesterday. It was
I know, it feels
Monday,
like
right?
yesterday.
It feels like
there
yesterday.
has been a day between it.
But arguably also an upset for them coming together. Obviously, I think there is a difference in terms of skill, and this time around, NYYRIKKI, once again, is coming into this tournament, but this matchup as an underdog. And because of this, there is a lot of pressure on them. But as the desk was mentioning, relying on your bot lane for this with a hyper carry Jinx can be very interesting. I will think the laning phase can become a little bit difficult because once we mention Rakan in a lane, right? It's something against CC that can be quite finicky. Now, I will say, sets E, if you're mispositioned, can't always stop the Rakan, but as soon as you get that ultimate, then it suddenly starts becoming a bit more difficult.
It becomes a touch more challenging. Now, of course, it's not just any Rakan, it's Abagnale's Rakan. The last time he picked this one up, he looked phenomenal. I know it's something that he's quite famous on, so it's a big comfort pick there. I mean, honestly, for the side of NYYRIKKI, they've got Potoska's Jax, they've got Azatul's Jinx, they've got Abba's Rakan. They're pretty comfortable with those options. As we're back to us briefly there. It was a momentary look into the game. I'm sure we'll find out what's going on until then. Maybe they just want to look at us. We've got, again, a fantastic
stop motion as well.
That's true. We'd have that. We had
the
that
champions in game, but no, I think as well, range was something the desk mentioned a little bit with the two compositions here as well. And I think Syndra was a brilliant pick. Honestly, I would have also loved if NYYRIKKI picked that up for themselves, just due to the fact that you're against the Lee Sin, right? You had a Gwen, and while the Hallowed Mist does make it a little more annoying, once she gets into you and it is in the melee range, you can still lock her up with the CC. Now, I think as well, having this now on Bifrost creates a difficult situation from the side of NYYRIKKI. The fact that once you finally get into a teamfight state, your entire front line that needs to go in are very limited with their CC. We already talked about Rakan and Abagnale yesterday, but the thing is, if you're in Vision and you're just walking face first into these champions, you won't find an engage. And this goes for all of them. It goes for Viego, it goes for Jax, it goes for Rakan. So creating these fights around objectives, it's going to be very difficult, and it's going to be reliant on good control setup with very good vision layout that's favoring flanks for these engages, because taking away a Jax, the Counter-Strike's not going to matter. Rakan just jumping in, being plugged into your own team. So team fight scenario, once again, objective setup is going to be so pivotal, and I think a lot of pressure is on Abagnale again on the Rakan.
Well, he lived up to the pressure the last time, and this time he has, of course, got Potoska with the Counter-Strike to maybe offer a flank angle. He's got that Orianna ball for big shockwave setups, and they did say on the desk, that's a lot of melees as well, so if Set doesn't get the proper counter, you can sort of see some big wombos potentially setting up there as well. So,
and I'm actually very curious because one thing I love in League, it's early game pressure. Whoever gets to push in early in laning phase usually gets to make the first move. It's like a move. It's like being white in chess, basically. You have the first move, and because of that, the situation is always favoring you a little bit. Now, in the mid lane matchup, Orianna will be forced to just rush Mercury Treads, just due to the fact that Syndra will always have CC on you, and the combination of Syndra and Lee Sin is incredibly scary as a 2v2. Because of this, you won't always get the priority in the beginning, and Syndra will be able to make the first move. Now, a lane I'm not so sure about is actually the bot side, because I think Jinx with the rockets on the queue should be able to push in the center, and this might create a little bit of an interesting matchup dynamic once we reach the Drake area, because Prior should be from the mid lane on the side of Bifrost, and down towards the bottom side, it should be from NYYRIKKI.
Also want to ask the bot lane expert that we have, in fact, tell the bot lane expert, well, there's the phrase I'm looking for, that is a Spectral Sickle start from Senna, so looking like she's not farming either, so you're trying to get potentially the Set to farm, I believe, unless I'm completely off base here, which is, you know, a potential option. And that could mean a little bit less lane pressure as well, because it's not the Senna last hitting from range, it's going to have to be Set going to hit them as well.
So I think from a laning phase standpoint, NYYRIKKI has a few tools to play around with. Top side with Counter-Strike into Gwen in the beginning is very favorable from the Jax. Bot lane, as we already mentioned, and then mid lane is kind of being that thorn in the side of you where you wish you had that prior once you moved in, but it's also the saving grace for Bifrost, knowing that they can always rely on Fury if any invades should be coming in. But in the early game, they're trying to be finicky about it. They're trying to blow some early stuff out from the NYYRIKKI bot lane.
Yeah, that was a cute little attempt there from Duel there. Just, you know, just seeing whether you can get something off. Of course, it's not like you're wasting any mana on set. He's not like he's a resourceless champion. So looking to see whether you can get that face broker of the wall. Nice touch.
But you can see Bifrost, they stacked up the wave a little bit, which means that it's going to automatically be slow pushing into them. And they want to fight in the early game here with the few champions they have. Obviously, they can take bad trades because they have the center Q to heal up. So Jewel taking damage in laning phase is not actually going to matter, which is why you can see they're trying to be way more aggressive than the other ones. Oh my god!
He tried it, missed it up, and that means Abagnale gets a chance to go in. There's the heal popped. Duel taken very low. Azitor flashing forwards, the ward of the bush in its first blood, and it's already disaster in the bot side. Odie now having to run away. He's got a flash. He may need to burn it. Doesn't quite fall. Flashes down, and NYYRIKKI winning out hard in bot lane.
Yeah, definitely. That was on Bifrost's own action as well. It was Duel that flashed in, completely messing that one up. But, well, we all know what went wrong. He missed, and because of that, they just don't win that trade.
You could see the attempt, flash to get behind the minion, and it just doesn't work.
And the thing is as well, this is a Senna lane, right? So the fact that you're already put behind in a laning phase where Senna is not the farming champion, you took away the set. That means you're losing out on resources on gold right now. She's going to get less value on the sigil if she farms too much. And at the same time, she's not in a position where she can farm souls on the enemies. So the bot lane of Bifrost right now put behind. And once again, as Senna is struggling in the early game in the NLC, this is the third time in a row we're seeing this.
Okay, of course as well. Some of those black squares production are telling me, or if you look towards the sides of your screen, are teleport. They're not like they've not picked a summoner there, so that's what's going on. Does mean we're going to have to do our best to track teleports mentally. It's been a while since I've had to do that, since timers have come in. But hey,
Doomby, get in. Time to have these timers in chat.
Can we type in chat? Is that something we can do?
I mean,
just like from the voice
and
from
a
the
piece
gods?
of paper, so that's what we're going to be relying on.
I've got my spare piece of paper. I've got my pen. We'll make it happen. Still. Checking in, NYYRIKKI up about 500 gold off that bot lane play. They get the shove. Looking pretty good as it stands in this early game.
And we might get the first TP from Patoska because he screwed his wave up a little bit up towards the top side. Could not get a push in, and Decidre actually backed. Like, he could have been in the back end and helped him push that out. Instead, the lane is a bit awkward now, so synergy once again between NYYRIKKI and some of their members. Not always there. And you can see Patoska is actually going to hold on to the TP. He's going to walk instead and go back to lane with a call.
Yeah, he's looking to just try and wait and scale up, especially, I suppose, with all those summoners blown bot. Decidre did skip out, going for that topside scuttle crab, starting from bottom, pathing top. Looks like he wants to be around this bot lane to see whether C-Boy was going to try and attempt a bit of a counter gank towards bot, reset that lane, and to spot out the Lee Sin backing. And but just heading in, going to try and get the root here as well. It's a lot of damage down, and both laners there taking a bit of a chunk.
Yeah, but once again, healing aspect is in the favor of the center, so they can take these trades, and you can already see, all right, back to half HP, great. I'm feeling good about this one. So taking trades with the center, it's always super difficult, and it's why it's so annoying to deal with. You want to be able to kind of finish you off in one instance, or just have a pot advantage. And as you can see right now, in the inventory of Abagnale, that is just not the case. So lane gets pushed in by Bifrost, they get to go for an early reset, pick up a few swords for themselves, and on the other end of NYYRIKKI, they want to reset as well, probably just push in the wave and go for their own back.
Yeah, and there's a big wave now crashing into Patoska's turret, who did have to wait till this wave turned up because of that slightly awkward wave Goldberg called out just a few minutes ago. Decidre will be a known quantity because I believe he just walked over a vision ward as well.
He has, and I mean, they don't have any CC to set this one up. So what I was talking about in the top side before was your jungler coming around to help you shove the wave in so you can back on a favorable way. That's kind of what they're trying to do now. And Fury, oh, I'm actually surprised he fully cleared that, but it seems like he's just going to make sure that going back early is not going to be the case. He could have opted for a freeze there as well, but it looks like he wants to contest the next wave, push that in for himself since it's a cannon, and then go for his own cheetah. So Fury probably just going to be hard chopping this one.
All right, you can see him start to burn through that mana. That mana pool does have the corrupted parts to keep that topped up, and does exactly what you say. Shove straight through that wave as Abagnale just fighting over a control ward, as is often the case, and gets over the wall with a battle dance, so nothing more to say there. And
just this matchup as well with the Rakan and the center, there's something that's incredibly annoying if you've ever played Rakan, which is if you do get hit by the W of center and you're too late with jumping out with either your grand entrance or the E, If that pops, you get stopped midair.
Yeah.
So you need to be super fast. As soon as that lands on you, just get the hell out of there.
I imagine as well, you can accidentally set your other laner up for disaster as well by jumping to them, rooting both of you, which is not what you want to do with a battle dance. As over comes Desideret, will be on board, and it's a little early indeed. Not too much more to be found, and the reason we're focusing so much towards the spot sites where most of the action has been is Aero and Fury just trading the mid lane. Oh my days, that's just a straight solo kill. I was not expecting that. Good lord.
Okay, well, yeah, and that's why, once again, as we've already talked about, Orianna, you quite often have to rush Mercury Treads, or else you're just not going to be forced to lane, and you can see the inventory as well from Aero. He's got the boost, he's got the null magic mantle, but Fury after this one's probably just going to be coming back with a lost chapter, and that was the thing we talked about. Mid lane should always have the priority in this matchup from Bifrost, and now getting that kill is just allowing C-Boy to solo up the Drake. His spot lane's pushed in as well, so I was actually a bit wrong about this matchup. I thought the Senna was going to get pushed in by the Jinx, but it looks like it's the other end of the coin in this matchup.
And now that gold switching straight back towards Bifrost by a few hundred, and honestly, for the side of Bifrost, C-Boy, Fury, set up to succeed with that pairing, set up to succeed with that solo kill, and for NYYRIKKI as well, one of the things we were saying a little bit behind the scenes was like, we wanted to see what Aero and Desideret would bring into this game, because they were a little bit quiet on the Monday, and we wanted to see whether they could step up in this game, and a little bit quiet thus far, and C-Boy and Fury, on the other hand, not so quiet in their games.
Yeah, I think the positive thing is that this game is not as disastrous in the early game as it was against Dusty, but it really started falling apart from NYYRIKKI once we reached the Herald. That's where they continued to just take bad fights again and again, but Desideret trying to make an impact bot.
That's exactly the kind of thing we need to see. Gets the heal out of Odie. That's a flash away as well. They're going to continue to trade. Desideret going to get rooted in place, but gets into the bush. And now Abba's here as well. Forced another flash. Aero has roamed down to boot. Shockwave comes out, and remember, Odie no flash, but does have the piercing darkness for the heal until the final auto comes through and they secure the kill.
Yeah, almost outplaying that one from Bifrost, but the man advantage from NYYRIKKI just wins out. But what can Bifrost get on the other side of the map? You can see Fury just pushed in mid lane, got a play for himself. C-Boy currently soloing up the Herald, so while this is a nice proactive play from NYYRIKKI, there is a response from Bifrost.
And you can just sort of see Ptoska wondering what's safe to do as they're thinking about continuing to shove even further. Duel gonna step out of the way of those flame tombs, can't get behind the turret. Spectrum Wall goes well, gets shoved back in, Desideret goes down, and that's not what you need to see. Ptoska flashing away from the needlework topside as well. Will just about survive. Duel taken pretty low, gonna start hopping forwards. Remember, he's got the showstopper, goes away from his lane. I'm not sure you wanted that, mate. He might just die here. Gonna get knocked up, goes down. Abba gets that one and gets out. No way. And now Odie, remember, no flash. He's gonna have to back away. Does
Dawning
now
Shadow.
Get the Dawning Shadow available. He could look for the kill as C-Boy gets onto Aero somewhere, and it's just madness across the map.
Okay, so there's no flash on Abagnale right now, but and obviously he does have the Grand Entrance to move around with, so Odie, he's just holding on to it. He's expecting it to be dodged, since it is already a fairly hard ability to land immediately, at least cross-map, but that was quite close by. But I don't know what happened there in the mid lane. Aero just getting caught off guard, and as this finally comes in again once in the replay, I think Bifrost had a way where they could just equalize it, but they saw a window where they suddenly were like, wait, we can actually fight this. And I don't think it was communicated fast enough probably that Aero was down and roaming. If you just back off immediately, even with the flash from Orianna, you were potentially able to just move out of there and try and get some plating on the other side of the map. Then when it's get fast forwarded into the set dive, I'm not too sure why they did that. Like, note to self, don't dive a set.
Especially once the Flame Chompers miss and he's not rooted in place and you're at about 20%. There was a lot that went wrong there, I think it's fair to say, as Astor does get rooted himself. But that's a 2-0-1 Jinx. As it was Jinx, no less. He is very set up to succeed. And Ptoska, while kind of had to drop a couple waves because of the pressure with the Herald and stuff, survived top as well.
And now we're in an interesting situation where there is a lot of opportunities with the Rift Herald. You can see 3 plates in bot. Traditionally, we could just push in the bot lane and then get a free turret for himself there. But because Fury has played the matchup so well with Syndra in the mid lane, what you could do instead is push in your bot lane, rotate up towards the mid lane, have a man advantage before your opponent, and take down this turret very early with the Rift Herald. Obviously, what's super great about this is the fact that once mid lane has been taken down in the early game, it's so easy to rotate down towards bot, so easy to rotate up towards top to take care of objectives. So wouldn't surprise me if we started seeing them hover around there.
And a Lee Sin and a Syndra, if they get accelerated into that mid-game, you both press R and somebody dies. Speaking of, they're looking to maybe haunt this choke point into the river and ward away the mid-jungle of NYYRIKKI for now.
But you can see C-Boy, Fury, they're doing a great job of sticking together. And actually, on NYYRIKKI, it is being matched, right? It was a question mark we had with the jungle and support synergy here, or jungle and mid lane synergy here from NYYRIKKI. And so far, it's been actually looking fairly decent. But now, with the Seadra roaming down towards bottom lane, it is being matched by C-Boy as well, and there's Herald. So they're just going to opt in for the Herald push in the bot lane.
And that will extend the gold lead further than the 1,000 gold they have so far. Fury will be on Vision, and that means that NYYRIKKI do need to get out of here fairly sharply. Flame Chompers come down, first turret goes down, the plates go over, and that is a lot of where Bifrost have managed to acquire their lead, just trading in the crockery.
Yeah, they can take this a bit slow if they want to as well. 30 seconds onto Infernal. Now you're obviously getting bot lane priority. You can move in towards the mid lane as well with Fury now.
Ooh, thought about that.
After that, you should just be able to set up the Drake as well. Remember, C-Boy already picked up a really early Drake for himself that he soloed once again with the Prio. Now you need to be careful where you recall here.
A little bit. Remember, there's that ward across the back wall, and because they've not seen Duel leave, they could maybe spot him out, but he gets away free. There's 5 seconds until this Infernal Drake, and I'm not quite sure whether Bifrost or Ava. Odie is sticking around, so maybe they are just waiting for C-Boy to get back out on the map.
Yeah, and even then, he just picked up the first mythic of the game.
Of course.
11:30 into the game, right? So this is greatly, an advantage for the side of Bifrost. And for NYYRIKKI, what they want to do right now is they haven't had a reset for their bot lane. So all they're trying to do is just push in this wave, make sure it's going to bounce back to them when they're done with their recalls, and now just hopefully pick up that first mythic for themselves. And there you can see it, Asita just pick up the Kraken Slayer. It's still 2-0 in the Jinx, so there is still light in this game for the side of NYYRIKKI.
Oh, Aero needs to be very careful because Shikari's roamed down from the top side with all the pressure he's had. Look at C-Boy as well. It's a 3 versus 1, and this Clockwork Lady about to be deconstructed. Ain't no way that's going back together. And the clock stops kicking as the Dawning Shadow secures another mid-jungle down for the count.
Seadra did have flash for that one, so he could have gotten out of it, but just wasn't ready for it. Thought he could sidestep it, and that's just going to cost him his life. Once again, Drake gets taken. They move out on the map immediately, and they get a kill for it, not only just on the mid laner, but also on the jungler. So NYYRIKKI, once again, just falling in these skirmishes, not only just on a macro decision, but also on an individual level.
That is a reconnect straight away, but comes back to the Rift, alive and well with the Divine Sundra in inventory as Patoska heading back towards that top side, and we'll get a replay here. And Aero tries to get out by roaming up the river, and unfortunately he runs into a Gwen.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's great run once again from Shikari, and we thought that there was going to be some priority in the beginning from the side of NYYRIKKI on the top side of the map, but taking it back to that first wave where Patoska suddenly screwed it up, he landed at a 20 minion DFs. You can already see it on his CS deficit right now, right? He's greatly behind. And when Shikari takes control of that, it just means that your bot lane's no longer winning, your mid lane's no longer winning, and your top lane is no longer winning now. And that has made the game very difficult to play from NYYRIKKI.
And Patoska does get a bit of a trade on Shikari, but he's about to run into the set, who does miss the face breaker, much to Patoska's relief, I'm sure. Haymaker not going to hit that point, as actually jumps forward with the leap strike there, feeling pretty aggressive. Plates have now fallen, and I believe that was 4 plate stop. 5 plates in first turret bot, and another 2 in mid as well for Bifrost, which is a healthy collection of gold for them to pick up. NYYRIKKI, though,
Fury does a flash.
Ooh, gets the stun. Onto Desiderate. C-Boy around the side might look for something here. Gonna miss the zap, and I think NYYRIKKI just about escaped from the mid lane.
They do. Fury could have flashed over, tried to connect with another ultimate of his own, but it's just going to play it safe, no reason to risk it. They know they're going to be pushing them back now. They know they can start the siege, or they can just look for camp respawn timers, because that's what they're going to be doing. You take a look at the top side, red buff spawning for the Seadra, Raptors spawning for the Seadra, or originally that's what I wanted to say, but C-Boy is now the owner of the NYYRIKKI red side jungle.
And you called it out in the pregame saying, look, I need to see NYYRIKKI control some of this vision, or it's going to get tricky around some of these objectives, some of these tower defenses, and I'm seeing a lot of control for Bifrost right now across the bits of the jungle that they are roaming into. You've got Elise in as 2-0-0. I think he's pretty ready and set to duel whoever the hell he runs into right now.
He definitely is, and the thing is with this pendulum of pressure that Bifrost is taking is that they can just take care of the top side now, they can recall, and while they're recalling, obviously NYYRIKKI, they can look for stuff on the map, but right now they're just too busy being defensive as Jewel.
He's going to try and find his way out, just get ignited, and I think he just gets to run out with the knuckle down and just gets to just walk away. He's chunked relatively low, and it might cost that mid lane turret, which has a bounty on it now that Bifrost have managed to get themselves so significantly far ahead. C-Boy is coming behind, and I think we might be ready for another rumble in the mid lane. Duel stepping forwards. Remember, there is no showstopper. Asdor gets excited and gets to go away. Abigail over the wall, flashes away, and does manage to survive, but the slow flash forward from Odie secures the kill. And now look for the rest of NYYRIKKI. We're kind of on the wrong side of the map, and Azator being hunted through the wrong side of the jungle, throws down the flame jumpers, but I just don't think there's any way he's getting out here unless he gets the cheekiest recall of his life off.
No. What, guys? You for sure know where he is.
No, he's just gonna get out.
Okay, they had Vision and River. Shikari was coming through the top side as well, but no, they're just gonna let the AD carry stay alive. They could have picked up the Jinx and then gone for the Herald, but looks like they'll just say, screw it, we'll take the objectives. Herald is ours. Jinx gets to live another day.
Madness, but cheekiest recall of his life. That's exactly what it was. And you're right, Herald's being started, C-Boy's on it, and NYYRIKKI in no position to contest right now.
But what is there anything they can get on the other side of the map? Currently, no, because the bot lane had been pushed in, so what they can do there is only collect the wave. You can see Decidueye trying to clear out some jungle for himself after his own red side got taken. But the power position that Bifrost is in right now is the fact that they have picked up the Herald, they can still go for their resets now, and then they can still have the proper time to set up this Drake. Obviously, it's not ideal, but 30 seconds for a team that's this far ahead already is more than enough. But here, NYYRIKKI is finally put in the position we wanted them to. You have control of the vision, you have pick potential, you still have a Jinx that's 2-0 and you can play for with the Kraken Slayer. How will they navigate this objective? Are they trying to go for a Hail Mary play, or are they just going to let it go?
They've got some options, but I just don't know whether they're feeling confident enough. Yes, Azator is strong, but top side of the map still a significant way behind their opposition right now, and Dragon's about to storm, they're still sticking around, just seeing whether they can catch someone roaming into here. C-Boy gonna step forward, does just about get outside of that spectrum more. They summon the Herald in mid, and here comes the Unleashed teleport from Patoshka. Fury has to flash away the kick out, and still going Patoshka with the double counter-strike into the shockwave. That is what you wanted to see, and they get a hold of the center. Duel getting rooted in place as well now, gonna get knocked up, just about gets out alive, and that's a pick for NYYRIKKI.
Yeah, great setup. That's what we talked about, and it's also Bifrost being caught so scattered. Set was not in a position to finally come in and face check that one. The Syndra not in a position to make sure that they couldn't pile down towards the center. And honestly, beautiful combo from the side of NYYRIKKI. They capitalized on having vision and they executed on it with their champions. Brilliant.
And they managed to halve that gold lead. It's down to about 2,000 now. That's playable, honestly, if all things said and done. Yes, still an advantage to Bifrost, but nice to see there's still some fight left in NYYRIKKI, despite things starting to fall away from there for a moment or two.
Yeah. But I don't know if this is going to solve the side lane issues that they still have been dealing with. You take a look at the gold, and Shikari is still up 1k, so wherever this Gwen is in a side lane, she will most likely be the one who's having the upper hand. Up towards the top side of the map, you can see as well, you take the two solo laners in the mid lane, Fury is still ahead of Aerie, not with as much as we would have thought he would, so definitely something to play for. Aero, sorry, has climbed his way back into it.
Ooh, Fury gonna get stopped play for C-Boy still around. This is gonna be a 3 versus 2. Decidueye gets stunned, teleport coming through, and this might be the return play from earlier. Dawning Shadow secures the kill onto the jungler. Now Shikari hopping forward with the skip and slash, but nothing more to be found, and this time NYYRIKKI overstepped with the teleports available.
Yeah, but they still have a wave coming in here. You can see they had mid lane pro, but they're gonna look for Azator instead, or at least try and force his flash.
He's got the flash, gets out, and that is now burned.
C-Boy actually did connect that one. Unfortunately, doesn't look... Oh, he did have his trinket up as well, so that could have been a kick. But choosing not to tempt fate at this point in the game.
I mean, I would have appreciated the bold playmaking, but that's what it would have been. Bold with a sort of underline and a few exclamation marks
around it. I'm all for the bold gameplay, especially on the Lee Sin. Once you hit that, you go in, buddy. I mean, they had the intel. Jax was on bot.
It's true,
up towards the top side, they saw the Orianna. And this is still great. Patoshka...
He's just tagging it.
Picking up some objective bounties for himself, so his team does get a little bit on it. 350 for himself as well.
That's not a bad little pickup there, considering how things kind of fell apart a little bit towards that top side. And Patoshka, in need of that gold after some of the early lane states and attempted dives with the Herald earlier on, put him a ways behind, and much needed relief funds coming in as a result of that bounty.
Yeah, and you can try and mimic it up towards the top side, because the bot side jungle from Bifrost has just respawned, so they're going to be having a lot of their vision, or at least a lot of their members around there in a bit, just to take care of those resources. Can try and look for anything in the top side, but the rest of the members of Bifrost are choosing to not go for any resets. They want to be able to force this one, but Abagnale, he can capitalize on it.
Yeah, remember, Odie, no flash, not yet. Still going to get charmed, get knocked up, and goes down. Just overeager from Bifrost. We've praised their aggression, but it's been a few times now where they've gotten bitten for it in this game.
I'm not too sure what Bifrost wanted to do, because you are going for resets. Your bot side just respawned, so you know 2 of your strongest members are down there with Fury and C-Boy on this Lee Sin. So the fact you wanted to go for an invade there, I can respect it if it's a 5-man play at this point in the game. But going 3 versus 4, when you just saw the resets as well from Petoska come through, you're just not in a position to actually go for it.
Get punished for it, a little over-aggressive. Petoska now will get to shove in towards his top side, but instead we'll see the resets. 2 minutes till the next dragon, and I wonder whether that might be our next point of conflict.
Could be as well. And I imagine the game is just going to slow down a little bit until we reach that final point. Shikari, most likely before that Drake spawns, would love to have a stacked up wave up towards the top side. Make sure that he's holding Petoska in that what is a prime position. Obviously, the Unleashed TP is coming off cooldown. It's just a little bit, so they will be able to come in. But once again, we're going to have to take a look at the vision control, because getting control of the bot side here is what really gave NYYRIKKI the fight before. The fact that they had to fade check with Bifrost. This time around, though, with Bifrost getting mid lane prio, with them having the potential to move down towards the bot side, you can already see it. There's barely any TP walls. There's barely any fog of war that Bifrost would have to climb through. Actually, it's on the other end of the coin with NYYRIKKI that now has to face check into a Syndra, into a set. This has become a difficult situation for them now.
Yeah, and watch C-Boy on the flank. They've got it controlled up by the Wolf Pit. That is how deep they've gone to secure the control they need. I'm completely with you, Goldborg. It's making things pretty tricky, but actually, interestingly, Bifrost not so interested about securing bottom river controllers. They're actually roaming up towards this top side. Petoska trading with Shikari. He doesn't hop that far. He's just dead. Flash away and goes down to the Ignite. That was a decision that was made.
And once again, a little bit of an individual mistake. Even then, Bifrost was moving up. Now you're in a 4 versus 5 situation. So despite NYYRIKKI finally coming down to claim some vision for themselves, they're just not in a position to take the actual fight now.
That's really frustrating. Of course, there's a teleport available. That'll be something that Petoska can use when he respawns in 20 seconds. And just felt too strong there. Clearly felt like he had the option with the dragon coming up and really got burned for it. Quite literally, honestly, because Shikari burned the Ignite there and cost him a tier 2 in mid lane as well to back it all off.
Well, they are taking a good amount of time for this one. 5 seconds on towards a Drake, 5 seconds on Petoska, so TP should be available for him. But from the side of Bifrost, they have just acknowledged that we don't really care about this Drake.
Oh.
We took your tier 2 in the mid lane, we'll take your tier 1 in the top lane now, and we'll just continue if you try and go for this Drake.
Exactly. Desiderator is sent down towards the Drake to solo it out, but that's a fairly hefty price there for mismanaging your map position, really.
Looks like they've still not gone onto it.
Oh,
They
right.
will go back to it now. But yeah, Desiderator was hovering. Now he's like, all right, Drake, let's go for it.
A bit of hokey cokey. That's the word it actually is. Do you ever play that song, that game as a kid? It's kind of both.
I feel like this is
a really
me
British
being
thing.
a Dane is definitely not something I've tried before.
Like, there's a Google there for those who've not played the hokey cokey. It's a wonderful game.
Yeah, you're only referencing half of our audience members right now.
That's actually very true. All right, to those who've not seen that, because that's clearly a very British reference, there's a YouTube available to you all. If you've got teleports and Baron happening, so enough of tangents, more on the action, down to half HP, and between the damage of Gwen and everything else, it's just going to go down. Desiderator's around the back, though, and never mind that. They are just flipping his head. He steals it. He gets out as well. Bifrost, that was in error.
Excellent. I mean, my apologies. Bifrost just deciding to flip the Baron there out of nowhere. I mean, initially it's a good call where you get to burst it down, but with a Syndra, you would think that you would have better options to try and stop Desiderator for coming into that one, and they just get outsmited. Gold lead still in the favor of Bifrost, but surely now the game should be able to favor NYYRIKKI just a little bit, at least from a map state with the waves being able to push with the Baron minions.
And every time we've seen Bifrost secure a seemingly sizable lead in this game, something like that has happened. We saw it in the mid lane. We've seen it around the Dragon. We see it here around the Baron, where NYYRIKKI are just managing to punish some over-aggression, some almost too quick plays, which aren't quite set up right for Bifrost.
And it's definitely what's keeping them in this game. Desiderator, once again, a question mark after his, what do you say, match last Monday.
Yeah.
Where he actually had a win. But this time around, definitely stepped up a little bit, stealing these objectives.
My days, and the gold lead from once again a significant lead is back down to around 2,000. I've said that a few times this game. We're going to get a flip on a replay of this Baron and how Zurich just gets in and gets out again.
Okay, it's just brilliant timing on the ultimate. The scatter of the week did come out from Fury. It's just a little too late, and it's perfectly timed with the Heartbreaker where you go unstoppable to get into the pit.
The perfect crime. Just gets in, gets out.
Quite honestly was.
1v5, you get in, you get the flip, and they just couldn't stop him. Scav of the week missing was a huge deal.
And now as well, I don't actually think there's objective bounties up any longer because the game has become so close once again. And this is what we talked about, or rather what the devs talk about as well, the late game scaling aspect of this team. This Orianna is no longer in a position where she's just being forced down by the Syndra in the laning phase. Now she's out of the map. Now you get to the point in the game where a prime shockwave can turn the favor of the tides in a teamfight scenario. Jinx as well. Still Acetor on this Jinx. Gone 2-0, 400 gold shot down, 3 items. Definitely something to play for.
Yeah, he is so strong. And while, yes, there is scaling on Bifrost, a 6-item Syndra will definitely one-shot a squishy member. Gwen scales so well. Senna, though, that infinite soul scaling, so pretty strong on the other side, but the range, the shockwave, Jax probably matches Gwen's to an extent in that scaling. It's going to get tricky for Bifrost if they can't close the distance the later this game goes.
Control, getting gain of the mid lane. That's allowed them to take control of the red side jungle as well, allowing them further to push down to the bot side. So just a domino effect here from NYYRIKKI, making sure they stay in this game. On the other side of the map, you can see Fury trying to go for the same on the Syndra, but that tier 2 has already fallen.
And you're racing a Jax, of all people. That's a tough character to beat in a tower pushing battle contest. Petoska throws down the counter-strike as Duel comes to force him off the tower and actually does a fairly decent chunk of damage there. Of course, he's farming, remember, even if he is the support.
Fury's pressure was actually enough to make at least the Seadra and Aero back on that side. I'm actually a little bit disappointed because I think Acetor and Abagnale could have moved earlier down towards that bot side to make sure that they could pick it up. Nonetheless, it is a very low turret now and they should be able to go for it on their next push. But Baron has now timed out and you don't get to have the same advantage with these minions now.
No, you do not. But what it has done is, for the longest time, we said, look at Bifrost vision control. NYYRIKKI now with a solid sea of wards in the red side jungle of Bifrost coming into what could be a very pivotal fight. It would be sole point for either of these teams. And for once, NYYRIKKI actually with an okay setup, just at least in the red side jungle there.
And this is the thing, right? Because Bifrost right now is using so much time to gain offensive vision around the Drake to make sure that, oh, you don't have vision to get into your own jungle. But having these TP wards in the back right now, having these flanks that Abagnale can try and get access to, which you've already seen him be very great at doing last Monday, that's the scary point, and that's what might bite Bifrost in the bot later if they're not taking good care of it or respecting the fact that they can be behind them.
And you can see the contest over vision, over opportunities and positions to pick from is what Bifrost are looking for. You saw them hugging the wall there as Shikari and Seaboy and the rest of Bifrost actually all coming down to this mid lane to fight for control. Petoska on a flank here could find an angle. He's got the counter-strike but gets stunned up by Set. But in goes Abagnale anyway while Set was distracted. Fury and Odie forced away from the front line. Dawning Shadow comes through regardless. It's a 1-for-1 right now, but Acetor is excited. Petoska backs away and it's going to be Gwen in trade for Rakan, and I think that's got to favor NYYRIKKI.
Yeah, probably most likely. Actually, support for top laner, you take that, but there's still so many tools now on the side of Bifrost that can make matters difficult. You don't have the Shockwave, you don't have the Rocket, you don't have Engage, and on the side of Bifrost, they still have a lot of champions to play for here.
They do it now. Seaboy's going to get stunned up. Does get a decent scan of the week. Duel's coming in, but goes golden does Petoska. And that will be a dead duel. They get out, they get the dragon, and with no ultimates available for literally anybody, they get the Drake as well.
Great stopwatch from Petoska, just punishing Duel once again on this set. Flashing forward once again, only to meet his own demise. And Baron spawning up in 40 seconds. Not something you're going to be able to take on this reset on the map, but most likely after the next one.
And here we go again. The gold lead actually in NYYRIKKI's favor, and we're getting to that late game. And Bifrost, look back a couple weeks. They've done this before where they've had a good early game, slipped up in the mid game and had to come back late. It happened versus Astralis in pretty extravagant fashion. Looks like they might have to do it again this week if they want to pick up the win. NYYRIKKI, on the other hand, they're in a great position right now. One Drake away from Soul. They've got this Jinx at an incredible point of power. And they just need to drive it home from here.
Exactly. And once again, it's about being patient. It's about playing with the ground. You get up the Syndra, see if you can keep track of the main lines of engage for NYYRIKKI. The fact that the Jax came out of Fucker War to disrupt your team fighting, the fact they're able to pick up the Gwen by itself in a split scenario. It's things you don't want to happen. And now Aero, he just pushed in bot side. That forced Fury to go down there. And now they're just looking for it again.
He's gonna get knocked right down. The shockwave comes on and shuts him down. That gold has been sitting on him for so long, and the jungler is dead for 40 seconds. Baron's alive, and NYYRIKKI are here and ready to secure it. Can Bifrost do anything to prevent this from happening?
They can TP in with Petoska as well, and they haven't actually started up this Baron just yet. This is indeed interesting.
Fury.
Petoska on the flank.
He's going to come around the side. Zidri has to go golden. He's taken so damn low. He went so deep for this, and I wonder whether NYYRIKKI have overdied, but he's dead, and Zidri gets out alive. Duel into the backside is going to get something. Resurrecting is the Viego. He's got the shock, not the shockwave, he's got the soul to steal. Of course, the Guardian Angel now popped. They get another kill. Seaboy will respawn shortly, but I think now NYYRIKKI can finally secure the Baron. A little bit risky.
These can be very risky because they are low HP. Barcena can heal up the set as well. Obviously, no ultimate to come through with this one. And vision control is still very much in their favor. TP comes in from Shikari. They might be too late. This Baron is going down fast with the Jinx.
It's down to 4,000 HP. Seaboy's not here. He won't be around to smite. Down and taken. Now NYYRIKKI need to extricate themselves from the pit, and they do so, and they get another Baron. NYYRIKKI, prime position to win.
And once again, this time on their own term, and NYYRIKKI, I don't know how they manage this every time. Last game, or the last Monday, it was once again early game, definitely not going in their favor. They genuinely struggle with it, but their control around objectives, finding ways to play around the Farkov wall to catch off opponents, of course, all the time with Abagnale on this Rakan with the rest of the members following up. It's pivotal in their recent success, and if they can continue go like this, with Bifrost not checking themselves in terms of where they're face checking, where they have their wards, NYYRIKKI's gonna run away with this one.
And they're feeling significantly more confident. They're playing more confident. You can see it in the items. That is a Medjai's now in the Orianna's inventory. It's only 6 stacks right now, but that tells you that Aero feels there is a very real chance of getting the stacks required pretty easily from this point on. It's a confidence buy.
It is. Barondov, minions, once again, allows you to push better than your opponents. No-brainer. Push in the mid lane as long as possible. See if you can use this extra pressure to take care of the tier 2 down the bot side with Petoska. Push in this. Playing 2 lanes, definitely the right call in this instance. And just keep track of your opponents. Don't overforce anything. Play it calmly. That's all you need to do as NYYRIKKI right now.
And these big melee bruisers and brawlers of Bifrost struggling in these positions where they can't play around the choke points, the lack of vision to get into the backside. It's starting to get difficult for them. It's already a very challenging position. The lack of wave clear at this point as well, or at least safe wave clear, might punish them as Petoska throws down the counter-strike and hops right back out and shoving in those 2 lanes you called out already. That's a shockwave onto 2. It's just a chunk.
So cheeky. He was hiding it in the base wall, so they couldn't actually see the ball, I think he was, because I didn't see it either. Now, they could have moved up towards this mid lane instead, but doesn't really matter. The only core part of this is that they got to take control of the entirety of the Bifrost jungle, making it even more difficult for Bifrost to come up and connect this crucial vision we've been talking about around the objective.
NYYRIKKI back. They get the Infinity Edge onto Azator. It's 20 seconds until what would be Ocean Soul for them. When they've got the range advantage already, you get to proc it pretty well against all these melee people running at you. And Bifrost are here. They're ready to try and punish, but they're walking through a bit of this vision already. They'll scout out Desiderae. They'll know where he is, but look at Avo. He's over the back here. No shockwave as yet. And Abagnale here on vision as well. And they're just starting it up. And NYYRIKKI a little late actually to this dragon.
Yeah, but let's see. They can play around the grounding with the Syndra, but they're getting caught up in one choke point here. And Abagnale...
Flash quickness into the back end of this place. Not getting that much done. Duel is going to get a rampage shot for Azator, who picks up the set. Shikari into the back end of this, trying to survive, but it's 2 dead already. Yes, they picked up the Drake, but it's what cost? Fury, potentially last man surviving. Gwen is dead. Seaboy over the wall may escape, but Syndra is dead as well. And now NYYRIKKI with 4 dead and a wave shoving into the bot lane. I think they can just look to end it all.
That's the thing right now. Initialize huge wave in the bot side. You can see they're TPing in. Baron has timed out, but death time is right now 20 seconds on OD, 15 on Jewel. But with this Jink that just stretched these turrets, Jax as well in the background, they should be able to try and go for the end here.
They're going to move on to the Nexus turret, and once again, Azator on Jinx. He gets the early kills, he survives through a tricky early to mid game, and wins out in those late game fights. Maybe people need to not give him that champion.
That is one thing as well. Abagnale on the Rakan as well, but again, NYYRIKKI, are they a perfect team when they're taking these wins? By any means, no, especially not in the early game. But my word, the mid-game control of objectives every time is what brings them back into it. Yes, you can say that Bifrost initially ended up trying to take control of the top side of the map, trying to pick down turrets instead. But then they got greedy. They tried to go for that red buff once where they split up as a team. And in the mid-game, it was just Bifrost Bifrost, or not Bifrost, but NYYRIKKI, who played better as a team. They were making the better team calls, they were making the better objective call, but also that steal from Decidra on the Baron was really what turned the tides completely for them.
Beautiful stuff. And NYYRIKKI beat up Bifrost, who took down X7 on Monday. The NLC continues to get more and more exciting. Don't go anywhere, we've got a break. But wait a minute, significantly more games to go. There we go, get it off the screen.
Good pause. Brilliant.